So for the next person, I'm going to interview Tessabella, and she's a real estate marketing expert. She's done over $33 million in personal sales alone in 2018. And right now she runs an agency where she helps real estate agents to generate leads. She has been featured on Arizona Hue magazine. These are the images of her, and she's on Facebook. And she even did a collaboration with Ryan Serhan. Now, Ryan Serhan is a top expert in terms of real estate marketing. So she has managed over $18 million a year in Facebook ad spend. And you're just going to learn a lot, especially if you're a property agent or real estate agent. This interview will be perfect for you. What's up? This is Alaric Ong, and today I'm here with Tessabella Jelten, and she did over 33. She's a real estate expert. Okay, she did over $33 million in personal sales in 2018, and every year she manages about $18 million of Facebook ad spend for her clients and for herself. Okay, she's helped the top celebrities, she's helped the top real estate agents to generate leads for them. So welcome to the show, Tessabella.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So yeah, can you share with us how do you normally generate leads and just teach us all your secrets? Yeah.
All the secrets, huh? Well, I actually do this in a little bit of a different way from how many people dive into ads. And this is actually how I believe is a big advantage is I always preach establishing a really strong brand and footprint digitally in an organic sense first. So some people, if they have an established brand, say a celebrity or, a big influencer, they've likely already done a lot of work on the organic side. So we do a huge analysis piece of looking at what they've done, what's performed well, what their audience wants. And that's really what I found is all the answers are already there. To run successful Facebook ads, to generate leads, you already have the answers in front of you if you've been doing organic content. It's either telling you, hey, this is not working, or hey, this is working. So we really dive deep into finding all of that out before we start constructing anything on the paid media front. If somebody started from scratch, again, we really focus heavily on some value-based content initially, putting ad spend behind that so that we can pull as much data as possible, trying to drive them all into different surveys, collect information. And the further that you can really refine who those people are and who you want to get rather than just the number, then you can kind of turn on the fire hose after that and start really generating a lot of leads that are actually targeted to what you want.
So tell me more about your business, and any awards they've won. Yeah, everything. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess I'll give you the Cliff Notes version a bit because it's sort of a long story, but it's definitely been a cool journey. So my background is in real estate. When I was 18, I moved down to Arizona, and I began, as I was going to ASU and working at a coffee shop and doing a little bit of everything, I was really passionate about wanting to flip homes. Like it was something I had always dreamt of doing. And I literally had, when I first started, when I got the contract on my very first ever property, I had negative 36 cents in my bank account. Like I was so broke, but I knew I wanted to make this happen. And so found investors, would pitch it. I was just like so hungry to make it happen. And that's really what I did when I did that. So got started in the investment side, would always flip houses, 23 my first year. And then that transitioned towards more of real estate traditional sales. So I got my real estate license, began selling, the official real estate partner of the NBA's Phoenix Suns here in Arizona, and started kind of like coaching other agents on how they could do that as well, how they could generate leads. And what I did was I went all in on building the personal brand. Like that's really where the magic is, in my opinion, particularly for real estate. And so that, kind of transitioned into speaking, teaching other people. And out of that was my marketing agency. So now for the last 5-6 years, that's what we've been doing is we work primarily in the real estate industry. So with investors, home services, agents, brokerages, And then anybody who has like a presence in real estate. So TV celebrities, real estate influencers, or big tech brands. And we help them anywhere from building just kind of like a content strategy all the way to building out, like my favorite things is the automation piece and really getting super refined with their funnels to drive traffic. But sometimes you got to build up to those pieces. So that's been the journey, but it's a lot of fun to be on both sides. Both the marketing agency world and digital marketing is so powerful, but then having the background in real estate myself, I think gives us a nice advantage to be able to serve clients on a higher level.
So how do you normally generate leads? Like, how do you write the ads? Do you have a specific framework on how you do it? Yeah.
For myself or for our clients?
For both yourself and for your clients. Maybe you can, yeah.
So ironically, for myself, for the agency, we actually don't have to do a lot of lead generation. In fact, we are actually at a place where we have to turn clients away from time to time because we get such high volume from organic networking. Places like Clubhouse, for example, like getting on there, speaking and making these connections, it opens up a world of conversation. So I am always very active on Instagram and on Clubhouse. And so I have a lot of conversations with agents. We drive them into the funnel and we've had great organic flow for that. That's been really powerful for us. As far as for our clients, we don't necessarily have a duplicatable framework for the same reason that everything can be different. So if we're looking at two different agents, for instance, and we're looking at a real estate agent in California and then a real estate agent in Kansas, they have completely different markets, totally different margins, like price points. Everything is really, really different, as well as the reasons for people to make those decisions. California right now, people are leaving because it's all shut down and taxes and all this thing. They want to move out of there. So that driver, that emotional thing that they're tapping into in our advertising is much different from somebody who lives in Kansas, for instance. It's going to be really different. So we don't necessarily follow a specific framework as much as we pour into the actual onboarding and getting to know our clients.
So, can you give me an example of one of your clients? Like, okay, maybe you don't have to say the name, or but an example, like how do you generate the lead? Is it through a landing page using ClickFunnels, or using a Facebook lead form, or send message ad, or how do you normally do it? Yeah.
Yeah, great question. A lot of times we typically opt for ClickFunnels. I'm like the ClickFunnels queen. I absolutely love it. I think it's the most amazing. And so that's a lot of times our funnel flow is that we'll lead with a couple different series of ads. So we'll have some that's really brand reputation. We'll run on low cost, high frequency. And that's just to get more familiarity with the brand or with the individual. And then we do heavy retargeting. We do a lot of really value-based ads. So what's been performing well too is like actually longer form trainings and things like obviously webinars is something people have always done, but instead we take maybe that longer form video, a 20-minute training, and that's actually our ad content is something like that. So they're getting the value right then and there. As they click through, it takes them into opt into something maybe like a 3-day challenge or a mini training or a free like mini course, things like that. So they're just getting massive value in the beginning. And the reason I love doing that is obviously you've now captured them, and then your follow-up and nurture process is where it goes from there. But I really like to over deliver. I think that's really important. But second of all, you give the impression, if you're giving that kind of stuff away in your ads or in your, opt-ins, you're giving the impression of like, wow, if this is what she gives away for free or he gives away for free, I can only imagine how valuable that is behind the paywall, right? Behind when I actually opt in or when I work with them. So it helps to kind of establish you already as the go-to person and that authority, because they're naturally starting to assume that there's so much more kind of behind the scenes and they want to be a part of it. So it's been working pretty well.
Okay, wait. So for real estate agents, you help them to create a challenge, like a 3-day challenge or mini challenge. And then, so how do they get real estate buyers from this challenge? Yeah. So is it like you teach them property investing tips or something, and then, or how does it work? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'll give you one practical example. And the challenge thing is maybe more so for some of like our investors or people who have a bit more of a refined niche. For an agent, for example, we'll maybe run some ads that are talking about relocation, because that's a hot topic right now. And it's like educational about relocation. They opt in and download maybe a relocation guide. So kind of an ebook or something like that. And then the follow-up process could be a series of different videos that talks about like, the most important things that your traditional agent might not think about if they're not specialized in relocation, because relocation is a whole different beast for a lot of agents to tackle. Like you have to think about, schooling districts and transferring all kinds of different licensing, or your own, it's just a whole different process than just moving somewhere in state or in your city. So that's one that works well for agents because it's a bit more refined. So they do the guide first, and then it goes into like a series of videos.
So if you're doing relocation, okay, let's say the agent is in maybe Arizona, okay? So do you target people in Arizona, or do you target people outside of the state to ask them to relocate to this state?
Yeah, so if we're running some relo ones to get buyers for Arizona, then yeah, we'll focus on some of the hot areas. Like, well, prior to COVID, Canada was a big one. We had so many people that would transplant here from Canada. We still have some, but not as much. California, Chicago, like those kind of are like our hot epicenters of where people come in from, as well as some other ones. So we'll definitely like overlay those areas primarily and get the information as far as people relocating here from different cities and different like counties over there, and then we'll target those specifically.
Okay, so you target your ads to other states, and you ask them to relocate to Arizona, something like that, is it?
Correct. Yeah, that's just one example, but yeah, those definitely. If you live and work in a one of the states that is getting high inflow of people right now, like on a traditional year in like 2018, 2019, we would average about 300 people moving to Arizona a day. And now we're over 500 a day of people relocating to Arizona right now. It has been like that for the last, I think, at least 4 months, maybe more. And then same thing with like Texas. Texas is another one. A lot of people are moving there. Same with Miami, like Florida. People, all the East Coast is going down to Florida. So there's really some hot spots that people are, moving to. And those are great places if you live in those areas to target some of the transition.
So, okay, tell me more about ClickFunnels. Like, how do you use ClickFunnels to, generate leads? Other than challenges, are there any other things you do? Yeah.
I love ClickFunnels because it's a very user-friendly, in my opinion. Obviously, everybody's got their things about it that they don't love. There's things you can improve at all times. But for the most part, I like it a lot because we're able to build these really impressive, beautiful funnels that convert highly. It's easy to use. Support is good. And then the best part, too, is that we actually, your clients are pretty, for the most part, it's pretty easy for them to get in and make minor changes if they need to in the future. So I started when I was like first getting into marketing, I would do a lot of web development and in WordPress and all of these kind of things, right? But then when you're handing that off to a client, and this is actually what I think is a little messed up with the development industry, is that you're banking on the fact that they have no idea how to do anything in the back end of their site, and that's how you keep them on these retainers for maintenance and stuff like that, which is great. But at the same time, a lot of people get scammy with that, and I don't love that model. So I love a resource like ClickFunnels because I can very easily show a client and change a color of thing or change a font on something if they want or need to, so that they're not like boxed into always having to hire somebody, always have to call somebody in. So that's one piece that I really like, is the usability for an actual, consumer who might not be versed in how to use those things.
So how's your team like? Like, how do you manage a team, and how is it like? Yeah.
Yeah, so I previously managed a team of real estate agents. I actually ended up, I'm no longer on the real estate sales side as much. So my partner in that business is the one who runs that team. We kind of separated on that piece. But what I always loved about managing agents was the opportunity to really groom and help people understand that this is their opportunity to kind of step into a role of their own. Leadership is one of the most important qualities. And I actually teach this when I'm coaching agents now. It's so important to ingrain high quality culture and values, even if you're a one-man show, because then as you duplicate, as you scale, as you grow, those are the kind of traits that you pass on. If you're running your business right now like crazy, running around with your head cut off all the time, you don't know your numbers, you have all this stuff, that is going to get passed down the ladder every time you bring somebody else in. So it's just in the same way as like a relationship. You want to make sure that you're good for yourself first in order to be good for others. And it's a constant journey to be a good leader. So that was on the real estate agent side when I was managing agents. Now with the agency, we have a very involved team. And one of the things that I think is really important to emphasize is that the reality is you have to pour into people and empower people. And that can be hard for entrepreneurs too. Sometimes it's very hard to delegate things or to hand things over, give up the reins on certain stuff because you've had your way of doing it or you think your way is the way to go. But truly, as soon as you allow yourself to kind of release that control on certain areas and empower somebody to step in and take control of it themselves, that's when things start to really grow and scale because they have pride of ownership in their work, but it's also freeing up time for yourself. So it's a challenging one to do, constantly working on, but it's definitely a lot of fun.
So you manage so much of Facebook ad spend. How do you prevent your ad accounts from being shut down? Like, I mean, Facebook is banning everyone left, right, and center. So how much ad spend do you manage a month or a year? And how do you prevent that from being shut down?
Yeah, it varies a lot. So it can go up and down just because we basically build things around launches for our clients a lot of times. So we've had all kinds of crazy scenarios. I have to say one of the biggest assets is to network yourself properly so that you have some people who are actually connected with Facebook and you can maybe like get in there and have some actual support and help in recovering accounts and or going around different things like that. But unfortunately, that's something that you kind of have to brace yourself for. That's something that you run into. And it is a piece that when we're running high volume for a client that we do cover that with them. Like we kind of prepare that that's something that could potentially happen, but we're very careful in the way that we structure and set everything up and doing it and seeing it enough and being kind of all within the same sector, you kind of know what's going to work and what won't for the most part. But then every now and then you have those outliers where something just gets like flagged and you're like, it's crazy. So yeah, it's always a little bit of a wild ride, but that's part of what keeps it exciting.
So do you use your own ad accounts or do you use your clients' ad accounts to run their ads?
We get into client ad accounts for the most part.
So use your business manager.
Yeah, I just also like the way that I like to run things is I don't think it's right to like hold people captive. And I've run into that a lot with other ad agencies that they like to keep everything in their own, which to a certain degree, there are pieces of that I can understand. But I've had a lot, like a big majority of the clients that I have acquired have come to me from having a previously really negative experience with an advertiser. And typically it's that kind of feedback that like they tried to hold their ads hostage or like hold this or whatever. So it just doesn't make sense to me for that. There are people that think I'm crazy for running it that way, but I have not run into an issue. And in fact, I've built much stronger relationships with my clients because there's kind of that give take there.
Okay, take me through the process of how do you normally like onboard a client and how do you normally serve them? Do you write the copy for them? Do you run the ads for them or do you ask them to run the ads themselves? Take me through the whole process of a client working with you.
Yeah, okay. So there's two main divisions of our agency. So we have Leadflow agent, which is our real estate agent facing, and that's where we work on creating, curating, and distributing like organic content on their social medias. That's a very lower level of entry. It's for like an individual agent or a small team. So an onboarding process for that, because we're creating organic content, is they go through this pretty in-depth questionnaire because essentially we need to now figure out how we can get into their mind, step into their shoes and speak as them, create content as them. We don't duplicate content just across everyone's platforms. Everything is unique and it's catered to them. So that takes a lot of understanding on who they are. So it's been quite a process to refine that whole onboarding experience so that we can speed up the process of getting to know someone. So they go through that process. They then have an onboarding call with myself or somebody else on the team. We get to know a lot more about them beyond just their business too. I think it's important to build like, what are their goals? What are they working towards? What motivates them? All these other areas that you can then supplement as well. And then we have a pretty strategic way that we outline the content. So we've got 12 different pillars they can choose from. They select 4 pillars for each month, and then we cycle content through based on those 4 main pillars. So we write it out, we send it to them for approval, and then things begin to syndicate from there. On the larger scale, when we're working with a client where, you know, we're building out entire ads and funnels and all this kind of stuff, an onboarding process is a much more catered experience. It's basically like multiple hours. It's typically like 4 hours or so where we're getting in and we're like really getting to the nitty gritty of it. And essentially it's this like very in-depth strategy session with them where we're giving them all of these tools, tips, tricks, and really kind of coming in as a third-party analyst to rip apart their marketing suite as it exists and find holes on where we can bridge that gap. Because in some ways, you just need a third-party person to look at it and be like, oh, there's just this one thing is unplugged. If you connected that, it would all be great. Versus some, you come in and it's like their energy and their efforts are being focused on 55 different places. None of it's channeling towards the same main funnel. So it really just depends on the client with that one. So we do that long form kind of like analysis or strategy session, and that's what gives us the path from there. And then of course there's the operational onboarding where we need accounts and access, and we audit what kind of content they have existing and what kind of stuff needs to be created. Some people will come to us, they've got great photos, great videos, all the things there. They just need it integrated and automated, versus some have, you know, the last photo they took was in 1990 and that's all they've been using. So we have to like really kind of guide them towards modernizing and creating things that are going to set us up for success as well.
Got it. So you mentioned two departments. One's Leadflow agent and what's the other one called?
The other side is just TBDigital. So that's our main form of agency work.
So that's the one where you serve higher level clients. And for a Leadflow agent, is it normally organic content, or you also help them to run ads as well?
It's pretty much always just organic. We do, so anyone who joins us on that side, we have like 3 tiers basically of how they can work with us there. And each of those tiers has access to office hours. So they can book a certain amount of office hours each month. And we've had a few agents that'll use those office hours to walk through the ad creation or setup with us. Or if they choose to, then obviously we're a direct channel to bump into something like that if that's their next step. But typically it's all organic on that side, as we really focus on curating content there, building up that personal brand through like social channels. Got it.
So you mentioned 12 key pillars, right? Can you share a little bit like what are the 12 like as an example?
Yeah, so like an example of those, and they can vary a little bit depending on if somebody has something they cater to specifically. But for example, it'd be like real estate informational, it would be real estate transactional. So the difference there is that informational would be like, you know, buyer and seller tips or investor tips, versus transactional is where they're submitting their open houses, closings, new listings, coming soons, all that kind of stuff. We have personal ones, we have engagement ones, we have design posts. We'll have local highlights, things like that, so that we can get some more diversity in the content. Because that's one thing I preach to agents is like, we can't just be posting the photo of the front of a house with sold on it and think that that's going to elicit any kind of emotion or trigger for people. Most of the time, they're just going to scroll right past that because it means nothing to them. So we really try to ingrain more actual personal story and kind of like personality and culture behind their content so that it drives engagement, which then can drive organic conversions too.
Got it. So what advice will you give to a brand new agent just starting out? Maybe they kind of know how to run ads, but they don't really know what kind of ads to run. What advice will you give them if they need to get sales soon?
Yeah, totally. Typically, honestly, with the brand new agents, I highly suggest that rather than invest, if you had like a little bit of money to invest, rather than investing that initially into Facebook ads or paid media of any form, that you invested into a mentor who's going to guide you more so on how to generate leads and closings quickly for your business. Because at the end of the day, online lead gen for real estate is powerful and there's a lot there, but it's a long game. Like a lot of online leads will not be converting for about 6 months. And so it's really important to set those things up once you have the infrastructure. But if you're new and you need a closing like now or yesterday, then you're going to need to get into some other channels initially to generate those leads. And there's countless ways to do that that are either low cost or no cost. You just have to learn those things, stick to them, and really focus on consistency as you build your brand.
So we'll get a mentor and everything. Cool. Okay, so take me through the numbers. Like what's the price range of a lead? Let's say when you do a challenge funnel, roughly how much does your lead cost? When you do like when you're selling the real estate straight away, what does your lead cost roughly? Take me through some numbers here, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Typically, honestly, with the brand new agents, I highly suggest that rather than investing, if you had like a little bit of money to invest, rather than investing that initially into Facebook ads or paid media of any form, that you invest it into a mentor who's going to guide you more so on how to generate leads and closings quickly for your business. Because at the end of the day, online lead gen for real estate is powerful and there's a lot there. But it's a long game. Like a lot of online leads will not be converting for We don't necessarily give away those numbers just because it varies so much. Like I was talking about, like it can be state to state, market to market, can be such totally different numbers for people that we try not to give those ones just because you know how it goes.
Yeah, because like
get stuck on the numbers.
Yeah, and they expect that. Okay, cool. And okay, so tell me, how's a day in your life normally like? As you know, someone who runs such a big business, how's a day in your life normally like?
Daily life. It is a lot of work. I won't lie. I definitely in the last 2 years have really tried to refocus on the work-life balance, so to say, which I don't fully believe in, because at the same time, if it's something that you're passionate about, like what I do is my life. This is my hobbies. This is my fun. So I don't mind pouring a ton of my time and effort into it. But at the same time, you have to remember to make space for the things that keep you performing at a peak level so that you can keep running a high level business and that you can work with high performers. So I really prioritize on like a daily basis, sticking to routine, following different kinds of like rituals and making space for and time for the things that are important in my life. So a morning routine for me is an absolute must. These are non-negotiables. I have to get like that workout, wake up early, all these kind of things. I always make sure that when I'm getting ready for bed, I'm setting myself up for the next day, checking things off the list. I'm unwinding. I'm not just sitting there on my phone. Although I have to say Clubhouse has broken that rule a little bit. But I always make time to journal and like read and reset my mind and my space a bit before I go to bed, rather than just like being glued to your phone all the time. And then also setting boundaries. That's one that I am continuing to work on and to get better at. But it's important to set boundaries when it's running your own business and it's your reputation and that's something that you've poured so much of your blood, sweat, tears, time, and energy into. It's very easy to bend a little too far sometimes. And occasionally that's okay because you can, get things done, but you essentially are always training and conditioning people how to treat you. So if that's what you allow your clients to do and treat you as, then now they're going to start consistently doing that. And before you know it, it can get really out of hand, particularly as you scale and get more clients. So setting the boundaries and really sticking to them is super important.
So what was your morning routine? You mentioned in the morning routine, you work out, and what else do you do?
Yeah, so my morning routine, okay, I wake up. I typically wake up around like 4:45. That's usually when I am getting out of bed. And I love to first thing journal, because I typically wake up with so much on my mind. My mind just instantly starts racing. So I do the morning pages in the morning. So I'll journal for like 15 minutes straight, just writing. Some days that's a list and I'm like, I have so many things to do. I'm listing out things and I'm just kind of making it look like that. Some days I have like something really on my mind from the previous day or the previous week, or I'm thinking about someone or something. So I take time to let it all out on paper and then I meditate. So I really like to do the journal part first so that I'm clearing space in my head. And then I do a meditation. I usually like guided meditations are really powerful for me. I always express gratitude. So a lot of times I'll shoot some people a text message or send them a voice message. Just genuinely letting them know how much I value them and how important they are.
Wow.
And then I get to the gym. So workout is next. As soon as I come back from the workout, it's getting through all of like my, cooking, and I take all kinds of little like supplements and tinctures and stuff. So going through that. And then I set the space for my day. So I actually make a list every single day and I choose my 3 main categories. So whether that is, this big thing for a client, this launch coming up, my personal business, and my health, or whatever my 3 categories are, but it's the 3 main things that I have to prioritize that day. And then for each of the 3, I list out the 5 main to-dos, like top priority tasks under each. So now I have a list of 15 things, and I knock those 15 things out as quickly as possible. And usually I can do that pretty quickly, which is nice to accomplish.
In a day?
Then at the very least, yeah. So then you roll into the next part of your day where you're checking off additional stuff and you're, continuing to chip away, but at the very least you got all your priorities taken care of. So that helps me to stay organized and to really minimize, anxiety of, we have so many things going on, so many things to do. It's a good way to kind of check them off the list really efficiently.
Got it. Cool. So, okay, let's go back to the previous part when you talk about a new agent should first focus on building their brand and building organic content? And then what's the next steps after that? Yeah.
Yeah, so after they've started to kind of create some organic content, build a brand for themselves, I constantly push agents into refining a niche and really finding a space where they want to focus in on. And it's funny because people hate to do this. They hate choosing a niche. They're like, I can help anybody. I should help everyone. But you more quickly are establishing yourself as what I call the one who. You want to be the one who does X. You want to be that person that's always recognized for XYZ anytime that subject comes up or anytime your name comes up. So I constantly push them to refocus on the niche part and to analyze. It's in the same way that I kind of mentioned earlier about how we structure ads is pay attention, pay so much attention to the people who are already in your audience and what they are responding to or what they're not responding to. I think especially in this day and age, people focus in and get so like obsessed over the number of likes they're getting, the number of followers that they have. And as much as that's all cool and it can drive some certain pieces of your business, at the end of the day, those are not going to convert if you're not paying attention to the ones who are already there, if you're too focused on constantly finding new. And so I give that example a lot to agents is that for any agent to have a pretty successful year, regardless of your market, give or take a bit, like 30 transactions would be a pretty solid year for most agents anywhere. So when I put it in that kind of perspective, look at your following on Instagram. If you just started it and you have 200 followers, to them, they're thinking, oh, this is so lame. I don't have any followers. I'm not getting enough attention and exposure. But I'm like, that's 200 people. That's way more than enough. If you were to actually have individual conversations with all 200 of those people, then you could probably get yourself close to that 30 transactions simply in building relationships with them, asking for the business, asking for referrals, and really connecting in ways that you can help them. So I say that only really to emphasize the importance of paying attention to and pouring back into the existing audience that you have as you continue to attract new people in. And it really leaves clues. Success leaves clues always.
Awesome. So you spend like millions of dollars in ads, and overall, which one do you think is the most effective like kind of funnel? Like in terms of, is it the challenge funnel, or is it like just a lead magnet, or doing content? After spending so much money on ads, which one do you think is the best? Yeah, or the easiest to pull off? Yeah.
I mean, that's a great question. It's kind of hard to answer just in the sense of your metric of successful can vary, but some that I see that work really well, again, is retargeting your organic audience. So for example, you can have people that, let's say you get high volume of DMs. So this happens for me personally. I get a lot of people that direct message me asking questions about marketing for real estate, these kind of things. You can retarget all the people who have direct messaged you or engaged in certain different degrees of your profile on Instagram or Facebook or wherever, and get in front of them, create lookalikes, all that kind of stuff. So these are people that are already reaching out. They're already asking you for something, and then driving them that way. So the audience piece is always super important. But as far as the actual funnel that I've seen working really well lately is that one I mentioned of doing a longer form training content as some of your first initial exposures, and then driving them into something like a mini course. So even if you have, let's say that you coach on, building a personal brand, you could take one section of your course, one module or whatever, and maybe that's defining your niche, and you turn that into 3 videos or 4 videos and 1 worksheet. You now have like a mini course essentially that you can package that's going to take your consumer through the experience of not knowing their niche to now having their niche refined. So not only have you made them, you've given them a solution, you've provided a lot of value, but you've also made them problem aware that they needed to have that niche. So now they're going to want to keep coming back to you with like, okay, well, I have this. Now what do I want to do? So they're going to kind of progress along that conversion much more naturally. And then typically it'll make your cost per conversion when you do that again, much lower because they're already wanting it. They're practically asking for it. So things like that have performed really well. Mini courses is perceived value. It's super valuable, especially if you actually do deliver a result. And you're already also introducing them into how you coach and how you teach. So they know they like your style. There are some people out there that are extremely knowledgeable get great results, but their coaching style just doesn't work for you. And that doesn't mean that they don't know what they're talking about or that they don't have XYZ. It's just personalities. So if you can show them right away what your personality is like, how you teach or coach that, that can drive a lot of results because it's already establishing that like know and trust factor.
So that definitely works for like coaches, creating a mini course, but does this work for agents as well? Like if let's say I'm a realtor or I'm a real estate agent and I want to sell a property, how do you use this strategy to sell houses, to sell property?
We actually don't hardly ever run ads for listings for agents. There are some people who specifically really focus on that. So I actually would prefer to send someone to somebody who really focuses on that specifically. We do not drive much success with that. And I don't believe it to be one of the best ways to advertise for real estate, because a lot of times the listing that you have, you're not going to get it in front of the person on Facebook who's going to want to buy it. So if you're advertising with a listing, it's more so to attract new buyers. So you're going to want a beautiful listing or this nice staged property that people would opt in for, or a really good deal. So I usually would do something like that over using an actual specific listing to get people to opt in. So I guess to answer your question, one that could work really well for agents that we see work really well is to use a property. So for example, we're here in Arizona. Our median home value used to be $250. It's now like $350. So really great ad that we have seen perform well, both organically and with paid media behind it, is so you'll take a nice looking home, always with a pool. Those do the best because everyone in Arizona wants a pool. And you can find a list of properties under 300,000 that are, single family homes with a pool, regardless of the, quality of them or something like that. But we'll structure our ad based around that kind of copy. Opt in here for a free list of homes under 300,000 with a pool, hot deals. These aren't going to last long, blah, blah, blah. And then once they opt in, we get them set up on autoresponders so that they're receiving lists of properties. And now you kind of have the opportunity to connect with them. So that kind of stuff works really well as well.
It's like giving them a list of properties, like a whole list, and how do you do the follow up? You have email follow ups, and you get an agent to contact them. How do you do the follow up to close the sale?
Yeah, so it depends on what CRM you use and all that kind of stuff. Ideally, when you have CRM set up and your MLS connected, then you can have it automatically drip them into this parameter. So I could set, I want this in Scottsdale, homes under 350 with a pool, and I can automatically just send them the emails from that. So that's great. Obviously, you want to supplement that with a little bit more of a personal touch. So whether that's phone calls, hitting them with voicemail, some more personalized email, but every agent uses different, softwares and stuff. We have the ones we think work best, but it's totally subjective. Some agents or brokerages provide them with things. So we really try to be flexible with the systems out there, because essentially they do the same things, just sometimes in a little bit of a roundabout way.
Sounds good. All right. So if anyone wants to follow you, where should they find you? And do you have any free bonus or anything you want to give them? Or yeah.
I would say honestly the best place to connect with me is on Instagram. That's where I would personally spend the majority of my time, is either there or on Clubhouse. I would say I am giving away my own mini course, which is 30 days of real estate lead generation. So it's every single day of a month, there's a new way to generate a lead. Almost all of them are free. So they're no cost kind of lead generation, all organic, very easy to implement. And yeah, I've had great feedback from it. So I'm giving that away for free. We used to charge for it, but I just want people to have access to it, start getting that flow going, and it's been good.
Wait, so what's your Instagram handle for them to follow you?
Instagram is Tessabella. So it's TESSAABELLAA. And then if you want access to that, you just DM me leads, and I'll send you the link so that you can get access to that free course.
And how about on Clubhouse? What's your handle on Clubhouse?
Clubhouse is the same. So it's Tessabella with 2 A's. You can find me on there.
All right. So if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you comment what are the 3 biggest learning lessons you've learned. Make sure you share it with your friends. You subscribe to this YouTube channel, and you also follow Tessabella on Clubhouse as well as Instagram, and DM her leads to get her mini course on how to generate leads for real estate for free.